My fellow countrymen of Southern Cameroons, welcome to another interesting edition. This video is for every man on the ground bearing arms across Southern Cameroons. Make sure you share this video, and every young man on the ground bearing arms, watch this video from the beginning to the end. I'm making this video because some freedom fighters from Ndian, brave men, reached out to me and said, please pray for us. Thank God we found you online and we are watching your video and we are glad about what you are doing. So this video is specifically dedicated to the fighters on the ground bearing arms. I want you to watch this video that I'm about to play for you. I'll show you your strengths and your weaknesses, what I appreciate about your work, and the guidelines as you bear arms on the ground, and the future consequences, even in the next 10, 15, or 20 years, if things are not done the right way. I love you so much, and I want to see us all win and build a country that we will all be proud of. So let's watch this video and then we'll dive into this analysis. Take a watch.
This kitchen where the burn, so I see if the ashes them so now my neighbor for Bafut here where he cook up this morning time, he go for town. I see one come back and reach for end of town for Bafut Road, for the popular name for the place in the White House. Who do boy then they receive them or inside motor they will hold them one small motor and then two camion them carry them go bush, go ask them about the day about the 15 of them where they carry them go bush, ask them 50,000. Then this woman just come back with this, then the place the bush where they go leave them for them at this task before you walk a country for a house, it don't be exhausted. So now the small midway bring them from town, he just put them for fire and then talk say me, he just put down talk reash, then talk now say me, he go rest with that stress we don't go through. Out of a sudden, and neighbor then alert we say fire, one go the woman the kitchen don't did all for down. Where if they can you imagine where the woman be the sleep for a sleeping room, the kitchen, the burn. Even if we hear other stress we don't go through, I'll be sure you sleep with your carry. In fact, it's a simple situation for this afternoon for Bafut here.
Well, this is a very sad situation. Mama dormitory like kitchen this way job.
This is a rough work. Do we all agree? That is rough work. That is a civilian. She was kidnapped, taken into the bush, 15 of them. 50,000 was demanded of them. This woman has lost her kitchen. This is the consequence of rough work. We all agree. We'll keep watching.
On this afternoon, everything down to dust. Corn, pots, meat, fowls died in this fire. This is there. Imagine.
What I am about to share with you, not even a president of Ambazonia abroad should give you instructions on this and you violate this, because you are going to face the consequences all by yourself. No one will stand with you. You saw Che Ayaba went to prison. He was a brave man, but he went to prison all by himself. I want you to defend your land in such a way that at the end of the day, if something happens to you, we will have a valid case to present to defend you. But if you do rough work like this and things go south, we don't have any legal base to defend you. And that is not helpful. If someone breaks into your house, you have the right to stand up and defend your land, but do things the right way. Now pay attention. Another incident is the bomb that was placed in my 6 in Quen. The explosives. Some call it popcorn. Now, when an explosive is placed on the road, this woman kidnapped for ransom, a home burnt because food was left on fire. This is exactly why this message is necessary. Pay attention. These are not small incidents. They harm civilians. They silence our legal voice. My question to you all is, why are you bearing arms? Because that is the purpose of this video. So that you understand why you should, the only reason why you should be bearing arms on that soil, Southern Cameroons. These actions silence our legal voice. They confuse the world about who we are and what we stand for. Before anything else, you must understand the true story of Southern Cameroons. Because why you bear arms matters more than how you bear them. I'm sure you all remember the teachers and the lawyers went on the streets in 2016. My question to you is, do you know why? Do you know why those teachers and lawyers went on the street? This is the distinction. Because you might think, oh, Ambazonia and why the teachers and the lawyers went on the street are the same things. Because every Southern Cameroonian is marginalized in some form or fashion. But that is not true. Now, Southern Cameroons is saying, listen, pay attention. You are occupying my land without a valid title or registered lease. So Southern Cameroons is saying, show the document that gave you lawful access. That is what Southern Cameroons is asking La République du Cameroun. This is what Ambazonia is saying. It's different. Ambazonia is saying, we had a lease. That means you had a tenant agreement. So we must evict the tenant. So because we had a tenant agreement and the tenant is not paying their rent, they are not following the contract. So Ambazonia is saying we are evicting that tenant. We are saying we don't have any lease, which is the true story of Southern Cameroons. There is no union treaty between La République du Cameroun and Southern Cameroons. So whether you like it or not, Ambazonia is indirectly working for La République du Cameroun against Southern Cameroons. And I will show you two important instances where the world would have heard us. Ambazonia messed up everything for us. That is why we are in pain today. That is why the UN has not heard us today, because Ambazonia is holding our mouth. Ambazonia is saying, we had a lease, it failed, so we must evict the tenant. But in reality, what the UN and the international community will ever hear that makes sense, which is the true story of Southern Cameroons. No lease was ever signed. That means no contract was ever signed between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun, except that plebiscite in 1961. And voting is not equal to joining. Issa Chiroma Bakari, the population of Cameroon voted for Issa Chiroma Bakari. Did he become president? No. So voting, does it automatically make you president? No. So does voting in 1961 automatically joins us with la République du Cameroun? No. There is a due process. I want you to get a reward for your labor. That is why I'm making this video. So no lease was ever signed, no title was ever transferred, and no document was registered at the UN. So the status of Southern Cameroons is incomplete decolonization, incomplete independence. That is why the teachers and the lawyers went on the streets in 2016. Because La République judges and teachers were infiltrating the institutions in Southern Cameroons. And the people of Southern Cameroons felt threatened and stood up. Know that and know peace. Let your fight has a direction and you get a reward. So the dispute is about unlawful occupation, not eviction after failure.
Very sad situation. Very sad situation. Look at the roof. Everything down. Everything down. Everything down. Everything down. This is after. This is after.
This is really sad. This is what Southern Cameroons is saying. And this is what Ambazonia is saying. If you follow what Southern Cameroons stand for, this fight will be short, victory will come, and our people will go on to live civil lives. We are not creating a military state. Southern Cameroons is saying the sale was never completed. That is the true story of Southern Cameroons. No contract, no closing, no registration. Ambazonia is saying the partnership didn't work out. That is the difference. Now let's continue with the story of Southern Cameroons. You see where Ambazonia came in and how everything went south, and how we can pick up from here and start doing the right thing moving forward. Now, it is important that you understand the true story of Southern Cameroons. Why? I said because why you bear arms matters more than how you bear them. From 1954, I'm sure the elders in the community know this story about Southern Cameroons. You that have gone to school, was there any class you attended about the history of Cameroon and the name Ambazonia was taught in any classroom? Is there any? If you've studied history in the Southern Cameroons, there is no history class you attended where they taught you about Ambazonia. Have you asked yourself the question, where did this come from? So in 1954, Southern Cameroons was a self-governing UN trust territory administered by Britain. Never forget that. We had our own legislature, judiciary, House of Chiefs, education system, that is what the teachers went on the street representing, common law institutions, that is why the lawyers went on the street. In 1961, Britain and the United Nations failed us. They failed to complete the decolonization process properly. We ought to have our independence by joining La République du Cameroun. That process was never completed. So there was no rule for engagement. And we are dealing with the people that come from a centralized system. One man governs everything. So they want to impose on us, and our people are pushing back. And the reason why you're bearing arms today should have been to guide these institutions and what these people stood for in 2016 when they went on the street marching, not another vision called Ambazonia. So there was no union treaty signed between Southern Cameroons, Britain, the administering authority, and La République du Cameroun, the foreign state we were supposed to join. No treaty was deposited at the UN. That means today, my brother and sister, the UN does not recognize that we joined La République du Cameroun in 1961. No legal instrument merged our sovereignty into La République du Cameroun. Hear me well. This is your true story. That is why the world has not heard us till now. Some will say, oh, the international community is not fair. They don't want to listen. When you don't come to them with the right story, no one pays attention to you. Until you go there with the right story. And then you can come back and tell me the system is unfair. Until then, my brother, you can't blame them. So that unfinished work that the UN and Britain, some of them will be talking about France and La République. Pobia cannot help you. Pobia does not understand Southern Cameroons, and so Pobia cannot help you. They practice civil law, we practice common law. Our system is more complicated than La République du Cameroun's system. Do you understand? If there's anything, we should be helping them. So that unfinished work is the root of everything happening today in Southern Cameroons. Now I want you to understand something very important. La République's internal changes, that is whatever change they are making inside La République du Cameroun, does not apply to Southern Cameroons. And this is why. After 1961, pay attention, La République changed its constitution. It abolished federalism in 1972. That has no effect, zero effect on Southern Cameroons. That is why you see the teachers and the lawyers still went on the streets defending Southern Cameroons, the common law system. The common law system never existed under Ambazonia. The teachers and the lawyers did not go on the street because of Ambazonia. They went on the street to defend the common law system in Southern Cameroons that existed before 1961. Never lose track of that. So those changes were internal to La République du Cameroun, just like the election that just happened has no effect on Southern Cameroons. And you guys did a good job by saying no elections in Southern Cameroons. But what did your Ambazonian leaders abroad did? They went out and supported La République du Cameroun, voted for La République du Cameroun. I'll show you what that did to you and how their actions keep sabotaging every effort that you make on the ground, bearing arms to protect your community. So, they did not lawfully transfer sovereignty over Southern Cameroons, all those changes that La République made, because you cannot amend a treaty that never existed. It's impossible to say we don't have marriage certificate and then you say you're changing it to polygamy or changing it back to monogamy when we never ever went into court and signed a marriage certificate to begin with. Are you following? This thing is very easy to understand. That is my job, to take something that looks so complex and make it easy for the average person to follow. So That means that woman that you're claiming you are divorcing with, you should have signed a marriage certificate with that woman to begin with. So you can use the word divorce. Without a marriage certificate, you can never say divorce. You can call it breakup. So Southern Cameroons is claiming that we never married. So if there's anything, it is breakup. Ambazonia is calling it divorce. That is how complex, that is how complicated Ambazonia is making things for us. This means La République's administration in Southern Cameroons is unauthorized, not because a union failed, but because the legal foundation was never completed by Britain and the UN. So we should be waking up every day talking about Britain and the UN and the unfinished project, the unfinished business they left in Southern Cameroons, not talking about France. When this issue will be addressed, France will not be in the room. France can only be in the room under the UN. But France cannot be in the room when this issue is being discussed. Do you understand? Because Britain and the United Nations organized that plebiscite. Now, let's talk about why the teachers and the lawyers went on the street. It's important that every fighter understands that, because that is what you should be bearing arms to defend. Nothing else. Then you see how Ambazonia came in and messed up everything for us till date. And people just move along with it because these people come from Southern Cameroons. We are all marginalized, and so we think we are fighting the same cause. No, I'm setting this distinction so that you should know. If you are for Southern Cameroons, I'm with you. If you are for Ambazonia, we are not with you. Ambazonia's case will never stand in any court on earth and make sense. Never. The lawyers and the teachers did not march for Ambazonia. Underscore that and never forget. They marched to protect the common law judiciary. The teachers went on the street to protect the education system in Southern Cameroons. The institutions inherited under trusteeship from Britain. They were defending Southern Cameroon's institutions, not a new political project. That lawful institutional protest was hijacked and emotionally redirected. And from that moment, our legal clarity began to be drowned out. This is the Ambazonia problem. And this must be said clearly for those on the ground bearing arms and every Southern Cameroonian, wherever you find yourself around the world. Ambazonia assumes a union treaty existed. A union failed. Therefore, separation is the remedy. That is what Gojindinka, the founder of Ambazonia, stood for. Whether you like it or not, every Ambazonian leader will look into this very narrative. That is why you see some wanted to dialogue with Paul Biya. Some hope that Issa Chiruma Bakare could become president and grant them freedom, which is impossible and illegal based on the Southern Cameroon story. La République du Cameroun doesn't have power, doesn't have the jurisdictional power to grant us independence. If we accept that, we are saying La République is the UN. And after that, my question to you is, what will the UN update in their files about Southern Cameroons? So it doesn't make sense. But I want you all to ask this question. It's very simple. Ask yourselves this question and ask your Ambazonian leaders these questions. Where is the treaty? That union that you claim that collapsed, show me the document that created that union. They want to show you a draft constitution created by Amadou Ahidjo in Yaoundé. Is that what made a union? Is that what made the union between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun? A constitution is adopted after a treaty. Do you understand what I'm saying? A constitution is adopted after a treaty. So that means Fumban was supposed to happen after La République, Southern Cameroons, and Britain had signed a union treaty and registered it at the UN. After that, we adopt a constitution, whether it is federation or whatever form of government we chose. And my question to you is, have they shown you that document? Make sure that they circulate the document that created that union that they assume has failed, right? And they are restoring Ambazonia. This is your life. You stand before the law all by yourself, not with an Ambazonian leader. You do a good job, sacrifice your sweat and your blood, and all this goes in vain. The UN came down there. There are many people right now that don't know that they are being monitored. Study what happened in Rwanda. Even after 20 years, some people were prosecuted and locked up. This story will not end up with, I was defending my land, I was defending my people. No. What did you stand for? And were you doing the right thing? And the question is, has it been registered at the UN? That treaty, can they show you? Has it been registered at the UN? It has not. That is the truth. La République du Cameroun knows that. By assuming a treaty exists, Ambazonia misrepresented our legal position and blocked the war from hearing the truth about Southern Cameroons. That Southern Cameroons was an unfinished UN decolonization case. If the lawyers kept pushing, that is what the world would have heard. If the teachers kept pushing, that is what the world would have heard. The villagers of Wone, if they kept pushing, that is what the world would have heard. Because if you look at Southern Cameroons today, we are still seeing the manifestation of these problems. Just a couple of days ago, the Wone villagers were saying, Dio, you cannot impose a chief on us. That is the manifestation of the Southern Cameroons crisis, my people. We had the House of Chiefs. That was customary institution, functioning, and is still functioning today. Now, Ambazonia hijacked the protest in 2016. That was the first strike. That was the first step towards closing our mouth from the world hearing us. In 2025, they did it again. The African proverb says, if there is no enemy inside, the enemy outside can do us no harm. The person that hurts you the most, even if you go to a Ngambi man, they will throw the cowries on the ground and always show you somebody in the family, your friend, someone around you. And you're looking afar. They're always around you. For us in the Southern Cameroons, it has been Ambazonia for all these years. It's impossible for 10 years and the world is watching us like this. We have to step back and reflect. What are we doing? Are we doing the right thing? Are we following the right course? Now, you see what happened in 2025. So the armed men on the ground said no. La République's elections in Southern Cameroons is forbidden. That was a good step. even when Issa Chiroma Bakari came to Bamenda and said he was friends with secessionists, I pushed back. A young man in the crowd in Bamenda told Issa Chiroma Bakari that you cannot sing that national anthem here. That was a bold step. I applauded that. See what Ambazonia did and continues to do. That position of saying no to the elections, that was a correct and disciplined position. That means instinctively you know what La République shouldn't do in Southern Cameroons. But you are being misguided or your efforts are being sabotaged. But Ambazonians abroad encouraged people to go out and vote. Imagine that. By voting, 3 things happen. 3. Whether they like it or not, this is what the world understood when Southern Cameroonians under Ambazonia went out and voted, participated in La République's election. Number 1, it signaled consent to La République's jurisdiction. That La République has power over the people of Southern Cameroons, has authority over the territory of Southern Cameroons, even abroad. That is a powerful signal that Ambazonia did to you. Number 2, it weakened the claim that we are not legally part of La République du Cameroun. It weakened that claim. That means what you have been doing for 9 to 10 years went down the drain by that single action. Number 3, it told the world this is an internal Cameroonian political dispute, not an international decolonization issue, which is the true, authentic story of Southern Cameroons. So that is the second time our mouth was tied after 2016 by Ambazonia. This is what diplomats around the world understands about this story. Not what people sit and tell themselves. Whether intentionally or not, that movement now serves La République's interests by confusing the legal picture. So Ambazonia is indirectly, from 2016 and 2025, is revealing to the world that they are working for La République du Cameroun, whether they intend it or not. So my question to you is, you on the ground, why are you bearing arms? Why are you bearing arms? Do you know why? That's very important. You have to answer that question someday. And this is the question you must answer honestly today. If you are bearing arms to protect civilians, protect communities, protect Southern Cameroon's institution, take note. Hold the ground temporarily while the legal case is pursued. Then we are aligned in purpose. We are one. I'll stand for you. I'll cheer you. I'll fight for you. Some of you have done this with courage and restraint. For that, I acknowledge and I commend you. But if arms are used for kidnappings, for ransoms, explosives on public road, what if civilians were affected by that explosive? intimidation, punishment, personal achievements, or personal enrichment. You want to make money. Advancing Ambazonia as a political project, then we are not on the same path, my brother. I'm drawing the line today so that we understand what we are doing here. Because from what I have understood, I've talked with most of the men on the ground bearing arms. Some of you are amazing people. I won't lie to you. Talk with you. You have an open mind to even learn. But there are some people who are middlemen, placing stumbling blocks on your progress. If this is what you stand for and stand for Southern Cameroons, even the elders in the community, the institutions in the community will stand with you. Ambazonia or anything else, my brother, we are not on the same cause. Like my brother Ndian said, we are together. I agree, unless we are on the same cause. So I'm making this video because I felt his heart. So a young man, a brave man. I want your work at the end of the day to yield fruits, not that you labor in vain and end up in prison for the rest of your life. Doesn't make sense. So I want to let you know what has to stop immediately. And there are some Ambazonian leaders abroad. If you study and align with the true Southern Cameroon's cause, brother, things can change for you. But if you continue on this Ambazonian path, brother, when things turn against you, we can't help you. I'm sorry. It's a good thing to stand up for your people, but make sure you study the literature and stand up for the right thing. This is why these actions that I am about to outline must stop immediately, because these actions destroy legitimacy and expose individuals to future prosecution. Explosives on roads, kidnapping for ransom, burning homes or property, even lot of public soldiers will not be spared at the end of the day. None of them will be spared if they are alive. They should know that as well. You're my people, so I'm talking to you. Harm to women, children, elders, any harm to these people, my brother, you're on a different path. That is crime against humanity. Acting on rumors, I see some people cooking up propaganda to misguide you. Watch out. Acting without discipline or restraint. These acts do not protect Southern Cameroons. They destroy it. And these are the rules of engagement. These are rules. Follow it, you will be fine. Civilians are always off limits. Protect them. They are your people. You are fighting for them to protect their institutions while we sort out this legal confusion, because there is a jurisdictional question on Southern Cameroons, and La République has to prove beyond reasonable doubt who gave them authority to extend their administration into Southern Cameroons. They have to prove that. Roads, markets, schools, farms, churches, hospitals. Again, roads, markets, schools, farms, churches, hospitals are off limits. Protect these institutions, protect these facilities. Don't destroy them. No explosives or indiscriminate weapons. My brother, direct that energy. Because I've heard now you have explosives. Make sure you are using those explosives within a guideline. And civilians are not hurt in the process. No kidnappings. No ransoms. That woman lost her kitchen, lost her house because of kidnapping for ransom. In Bafut. No punishments. Where civilians are at risk, you withdraw, my people. Where civilians are at risk, you withdraw. When the threat ends, force ends. Don't keep pushing. Restrain yourself. No revenge. That kind of language should not come out of your mouth. Avoid the media as much as possible. No media, no political declaration. Independence. We want our independence. Stay away from such rhetoric. The issue here is simple. Incomplete independence, incomplete decolonization, undocumented administration into Southern Cameroons. That is what we are dealing with here. Under Southern Cameroons, not Ambazonia. Each man is personally responsible for his actions. Let me repeat that slowly. Each man. You see, when they take you down, you go all by yourself. You stand before international courts all by yourself. You've seen it already. I'm not the first to say it. And some of the people around you will be the one to set you up. Even though the international community is monitoring what is going on in Southern Cameroons. That is an international territory. Maybe you don't know. Southern Cameroons is an international business. More than 87 countries were present on April 21st, 1961 to decide on the day Southern Cameroons was supposed to have independence. Did you know that? That is an international territory. Weapons, my people, exist to protect, not to rule. We don't want banditry. This is not a military state we are creating. It's to protect while we go through this process. So this is what will happen if these rules are broken. I want you to learn from Rwanda. Learn from Rwanda. After 1994, the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda prosecuted those who were responsible. Over 60 top leaders were convicted. Many were arrested years later, some abroad. Borders did not protect them. So that means wherever they ran to, those borders could not protect them. They looked for them. I want you to win and win big time with pride, not end up becoming victims. Time did not protect them. Some thought 10, 15, 20 years will go by and that'll be it. No, time did not protect them. The courts were clear. You are judged not by your cause. I'm trying to protect my people. I'm trying to free my land from the République du Cameroun. No, you are judged not by your cause, but by your methods. That is why I take this time today to provide for you the guidelines for engagement. Indiscriminate violence erases every political argument. What happened there is why the world today tracks individuals. What happened in Rwanda? 100 days, almost 1 million people lost their lives. The world tracks individuals, and some don't know that they are being tracked and monitored. The world is collecting evidence so that they can prosecute you later when all is said and done. And you thought, now I want to enjoy my life. All of a sudden, you are being prosecuted. So this is our plan for the next 2 to 5 years. And if we all cooperate, we will make significant progress. And I don't want us to rush this. You see, the process was rushed. Guess what? This is 10 years now. Instead of just following the tracks of the teachers and the lawyers, Ambazonia came into the mix. Now, 10 years has gone by. 2025, they jumped into La République's politics and messed up everything. So we take our time so we don't make mistakes. When we make those mistakes, the journey becomes longer. So these are part. Number one, legal clarification at the UN. That is what we will do. Restoration of institutional legitimacy. That is what we will do. They cannot erase the common law system. They cannot mess with our institution. It's very powerful and more superior than what they have in La République du Cameroun. If there's anything they should be learning from us, not trying to destroy what we have, doesn't make sense. English has run the world for 300 years. America speaks English. This is the best country on earth. And if there's anything, we should be moving close to the systems they have, not trying to adopt francophone systems. Doesn't add up. Civilian leadership, that is what we will institute. At the end of the day, civilians will run Southern Cameroons, not military. Know that. So international engagement is another thing we are going to do. Engage with the international community. So armed protection, if it exists at all, is temporary. It's not going to be forever. After that, if we decide to set up an army, when the UN is done with the process, if they grant us a nation, we want to set up an army, most of you bearing arms now will be enrolled into that army, and then we continue from there. But what you're doing, understand the purpose it serves. Temporary protection of civilians and our institutions, the elderly, women, children, and our communities during this process. It's that simple. So defensive, discipline, and transitional. It's a transitional military protection or armed protection of our Southern Cameroons. That you're doing right now. That's what you're doing. Weapons are not the future. Institutions are. I'm sure you all know that. Most countries around the world, you don't think they are not run by weapons. They are run by institutions. You all know that. So we have a vision. Teachers and the lawyers. Now the military is out there to protect what the teachers and the lawyers stood for. Not that we want guns now. We want an idea called Ambazonia now, and then it's all about the guns. I don't know, then we will go build something. It doesn't make sense. But if we tell the world we are protecting these institutions, the République du Cameroun is trying to mess with these institutions. This is what we inherited. They don't have a union treaty with us. So our young men bearing arms are out here to protect these institutions. That makes sense. To say a union treaty exists and the UN doesn't have that in their records, and you say it's a new name, Ambazonia, and some were saying, oh, when we are done fighting, and then we will pick up that name, Ambazonia, if our people like it. Let me show you the consequence of that name, Ambazonia. Let me ask you a question. After we are done with all of this, can you name your child Paul Biya? Let's say, no, it was Aijo that caused all of this. They messed up everything with the UN and Britain. So let's forgive Paul Biya because he was not the one who caused the problem. Can you name your child Paul Biya? No. Ambazonia carries all the confusion that our people and the pain that our people have gone through and has prolonged this case. That is what Ambazonia has done for you. Ambazonia doesn't align with the history of Southern Cameroons. It was invented in 1985 by Gojin Dinka because he was following the internal politics of La République du Cameroun and thinking that had an effect on Southern Cameroons. There is no legal union treaty. Can you name your child Paul Biya? If you can name your child Paul Biya, and then after this is said and done, let's go on with Ambazonia. So it means some of you can give birth to children and you name them Paul Biya. Or you name them Aijo. If you understand what I'm explaining on this platform and you're thinking that after we have our independence, we name ourselves Ambazonia, and then you don't really understand what has happened to us for the past 9 to 10 years. So weapons are not the future, institutions are. When the legal question is resolved, arms must be withdrawn and authority returned to civilians and traditional institutions. Power must go back to the people. Power to the people. Not to guns, not to armed groups, back to the people. When you have this in the back of your mind, then you understand even how to treat the people that live in that territory. So this is my final word to you. You have a duty to protect your land and your people. You have the right to. Let no one tell you otherwise. Not to replace law with fear, not to create fear in your people, but to protect them and let them feel it. And you are not violating international law in the process of doing so. Some even said they will go against the Geneva Convention. Doesn't make sense. That is arrogance. If you protect civilians and institutions within these limits, history, my brother, will remember you as a guardian of your people. If you break these limits, you will stand alone. And many will stand alone if care is not taken. You will stand alone legally, morally, and personally, no matter how loud your slogan or how long it takes. So choose discipline, choose legitimacy, and choose the future that you want for yourself and your people. That is my message to you. I love you guys so much. I want us to succeed. I want us to win big time. That is why I invest the time in these messages, in studies, to make sure that we are in alignment so that we don't end up as victims, but as victors. So share this message with every man. I don't call you boys, I call you men. You're standing up in a generation where others want to preserve their lives, but you decided to fight. I commend you for that. I want you to win, so I call you a man. Let's do the right thing so that we can win big time. Stand for Southern Cameroons and nothing else. The wall will protect you.
Southern Cameroons, crown of freedom, you have it. A first world nation in a third world continent, you have it. Put your mind to the process, cutting edge systems, you have it. With top tier strategy, I don't see us losing, you have it. With great institutions, one single vision, you have it. Make Africa stable for trade and worship, you